Thank you all for coming today. As William said, today we're going to be talking about sorting out payment options and myths dispelled. The title's probably a little bit over the top on what we're going to be talking about today. Probably because the title of misinformation wasn't very exciting. But that's really what we're going to be talking about today. There's a lot of misunderstanding and a little misinformation in the payment ecosystem and the changes that are occurring. So we're going to be going over those in the presentation. So let's first start with an introduction. My name is Bill Thomas. I am a client partner at Opteros, a world-class consulting firm that specializes in e-commerce and mobile commerce. We are a Magento Gold partner with 39 certified developers. We're also a Hybris and Demandware partner. As for myself, I've been in the e-commerce space for 20 plus years, have been involved with Magento since 2007 when it was out in beta, and have been involved in the smallest of projects to the largest, most complex Magento integration projects. And through my experience, what we've seen is payment methods come up all the time on projects, and I am surprised at how little time clients spend on understanding the various payment offerings and how they can help them out in the, for their store. Because for the longest time, people would just say, Bill, man, I got to take Visa, MasterCard, or Amex, and Discover, and don't worry, I'm cutting edge, I'm hip, I'm happening, I got PayPal, I got it in the checkout section. But the reality is that the entire payment ecosystem is under a state of change. Everything from the back end on how interchange fees work, from Dwala and Level Up, which are building their own clearinghouses, to e-wallets and processors and gateways, there is every part of the value chain is under a state of change, and any one of these could be an entire presentation. So for today, we're going to focus on the consumer side and things that are relevant to the merchants that are in this room. But I think this is really where the myths are dispelled. People don't understand that every part of this is under a state of change. So for today, we're going to talk about, the agenda is we're going to talk about three topics. We're going to go over what are the dramatic changes that are occurring in the payment landscape. We're going to cover the people and the players that are making a change in the markets. What are some of the big ideas that are going on in place? And then we'll get into real-world case studies and showing what people are actually doing out there that's being successful. Okay. So let's go into dramatic changes in the payment landscape. The biggest driver, there are two main drivers that are causing the change that you're seeing in the payment landscape. The first one, I wish this was a mind-blowing answer and I was going to rock you out of your seats, but is the age-old answer of money. Show me the money. 2014 e-commerce sales are 1.5 trillion, and those are projected to go up to 2.36 trillion in 2017. So we're continuing to see phenomenal growth in the e-commerce space. I know this isn't earth-shattering news. I think what is really interesting is that if you look at the year-over-year average growth rate, you see that we're going from 20% to 17 to 15 to 14. And the reason why you're seeing this slowing down of the growth year after year is saturation in the markets. When you go to Japan and the US and Europe, everybody already has a laptop. They have a couple of tablets. Everybody has a smartphone. That saturation is slowing the growth in those particular markets because it's reached saturation point. And that's important for merchants to know, because that means the buying behavior, the novelty of, hey, what do I do with this tablet? This is really cool. Man, I like this swiping motion, has now turned into, it is part of their lives, it's fully integrated, and they're used to shopping with these devices. And no other place is growing faster in e-commerce than in mobile commerce. 2014, we're at 55 billion in sales. This is just the US. And then it's projected to go up to 111 billion in 2017. No sector of e-commerce is growing faster than mobile commerce. The mobile wave has crashed, and it has crashed hard. Every one of our clients that I work with, their metrics on tablet and smartphone just continue to peg and peg and peg. However, I still see clients that are resistant to spending the time to truly optimize their mobile experience with their customers. So I feel they feel like, yeah, it's coming, I get it, I read it, but they don't actually act on it. The reason why this is hit so hard, and I think people don't really believe it is they don't understand the adoption rates that have occurred with these new devices. It took 39 years for the telephone to reach 40% saturation in the US market. There's a lot of reasons, right? Getting wires strung, people, I get new technology, it took them a while to get it. The only other technology that is matching smartphone and tablets was the television. From 1950 to 1953, in those 4 years, television went to 40% global penetration around the globe. That is wicked fast for that kind of penetration. Smartphones are matching that and have reached the same goals in 4 years. Tablets haven't even been around enough for them to get global consensus data, but all projections are that tablets are going to reach that within 3 years. We'll have global adoption. Now, that is what those two things, if you take a rapidly expanding economy and e-commerce, you take rapid adoption of new technologies, everybody absolutely understands there is huge potential for change in this marketplace. And I'll point out one other thing is that a lot of merchants that I talk to that work in low income, say they're low income apparels or that's who their client targets are, for a lot of those households, tablets are their first device. When you buy a computer, you got to buy a keyboard, you got to get a mouse, you got to get a monitor. You buy a tablet, man, you're one and done. You get it, you hook it up to an internet connection, boom, you can start doing whatever you want right there and off you go. So these adoption rates are what are driving the market. So let's talk about the people that are making an impact. All right, I'd be remiss if I didn't start off with PayPal. Now I know a lot of you are going to roll your eyes and you're going to be like, oh, PayPal? Of course you're going to say PayPal. eBay, Magento, of course you're going to play up to them. And for those people that say that I'm shamelessly marketing PayPal, you're absolutely correct. However, if you put aside my shameless marketing of PayPal, you have to be impressed with the amount of innovation that is coming out of this company. If you just go back to 2012, that's when they launched PayPal here, allows you to swipe a credit card and process it on your phone, to then launching PayPal Order Ahead, which allows people to, just what it says, order ahead and go in and pick it up. There's actually a Magento extension for it out there. To things like PayPal Beacon, which allow you, when you walk into a store, if the merchant turns on PayPal Beacon, I've got my PayPal smartphone app on, it'll tell me that, hey, those jeans that you just passed by are 25% off, and if you buy the jeans, you can go over to the shirt aisle and get that for 50% off. So things like PayPal Beacon can absolutely, you can target promotions directly to your customers as they come into your store. To their acquisitions of companies like MyCheck, which allows you, if you and your friends are sitting together, you can split the bill. To the integration of the biometrics and using the NFC chips. Those are the near-field communication chips, which allow you to take your phone and get them out of my pocket. Go up, swipe it up at the POS system, and check out. So if you go and get a Samsung watch, you can download the PayPal app. It'll integrate with the biometrics, so it recognizes your thumbprint, that only you can make payments with your watch, and off you go. And these are all available today. As I'm a software engineer at heart, the fact that they are refactoring their global REST APIs is actually near and dear to me. Probably not too important to people in this room, but anybody who's had to battle the 37 flavors of PayPal's tech arc absolutely welcomes the changes that they're making in the REST APIs. So, and the last point I want to put here is that I think if you take away the point from this presentation, that reach out to your PayPal providers and ask them, what features and functions do you have that can help me as a merchant? I don't think people are aware that payment processing has moved away from just taking a payment, just processing a credit card. It's no longer about that. It's very similar to the search engines. Search engines don't just provide search. They provide contextual search. They'll bring back cross-references and behavioral patterns and give you all kind of animations. The same thing has occurred in the payment processing. All of this demand is forcing pressure on all of the payment processors to provide new services out there to merchants. So stay in touch with them, reach out to them. I would recommend once a quarter just to do a touch base, but at least twice a year, ask them what's going on and what changes are occurring that could affect you as a merchant. It literally does move that fast. For myself, I met with Chuck Henderson from PayPal. He's the one who provided me a lot of this information, and I appreciate him keeping me abreast of what's going on inside of PayPal. So you go from companies like PayPal to smaller companies. There are thousands of smaller companies that are providing great technology for merchants today. One of these is Stripe. Now, these are PayPal engineers that said, man, we could build a better mousetrap. We can do something better. So what they've come up with is a secure AJAX checkout. Now, I don't think it's a big mystery that PCI compliance on a standard Magento server is pretty weak. I don't think that's a miss unknown. So If you use the Stripe JS, this is a simple integration. It was built by developers for developers to make it very easy for you to get it up and running on your site. You take the Stripe JS JavaScript code library, put it on your Magento server, sling it up to the device. When they go to check out, they're actually then making a call back to the Stripe server, then making payment is accepted. That then makes a call back to the Magento server to say payment has been accepted, you can ship the goods. It bypasses going back to the Magento server altogether. That's why it's a great option for PCI compliance. And I think the other thing that's interesting about what they're doing is that two of the main investors in this are Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. Both of these guys were the original investors and founders of PayPal. So it's a wild world out there with these as they cross and weave and come back. So definitely take a look, keep abreast of small companies like this. Then you have consortiums that are popping up like ISIS. So ISIS was developed for near-field, NFC is near-field communication devices. And in all Android devices, the chip is automatic. If you buy an iPhone device, you have to get a case with a special NFC chip in it. But this allows you to go up to the point of sale, grab a bag of pistachios, and then swipe it at the counter and check out, and away you go. This really came about from the biggest impetus, I think, the change that you've seen in the marketplace is when Google hit the market back in 2012. When they came out with Google Wallet and Google Checkout, I think for a lot of people that was very eye-opening. A lot of the big players said, whoa, man, if Google's coming into here with their resources and their innovation, then we better get on our game. And this is what these guys have been messing around. It was originally derived by AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. They then got together with Discover, Visa, and Amex to build this consortium to come to an agreement on how they should process mobile payments. And no big surprise, they locked out Google Wallet. And by doing that, they definitely put a big nail in the coffin on that technology moving forward. And the reason why people are so afraid of Google coming in and taking their lunch is that Forrester is predicting that by 2017, 40% of mobile payments will be proximity payments. 40%. Now, I have a hard time believing that number. It's 2014. We're saying in 3 years, 40% of this room is going to be swiping up at the cash register, paying for stuff. But then I think I'm amazed when I go to the airport and I see how many people use their phone just to go and check in on the plane. And then I do my Bill Thomas daily survey when my wife makes me go to Starbucks. I watch how many people pay with their phone. And right now in Elmhurst, Illinois, it's tracking at 1 in 10 of when people make their payments. And I find that staggering because that's a huge change in your behavioral patterns to start using the phone. But Starbucks is great at it, and they definitely have their marketing down and the ways to incentivize people to do that. Then we get to the old guard, Visa. Don't be confused for a minute that if you think Visa is just sitting on the sidelines watching PayPal and all these things, and they're under duress, they're under attack from every part of their value chain, that they're just sitting by and watching this go down. Just like I suggested that you talk to PayPal, you should talk to your Visa representatives and understand what offerings do they have that can help you out as a merchant. And the biggest thing that Visa has going for them is their long history. They have a wide breadth of offerings, from point-of-sale systems to how merchant payment systems to large transactional volumes to once they've acquired, Visa acquired CyberSource, CyberSource had acquired Authorize.net. All of those services are now rolled up under the Visa umbrella, so for fraud detection and address verification and a whole suite of tools that they provide, Visa can those offer to your merchants. The other thing is the international experience. It is critical, depending upon where you're at on the globe, you understand how the local payment processing works. I was just talking with CJ Pony before this presentation started, and he says, hey, we want to ship international, and we understand these different markets. And that's critical to take the time to do that. I think a lot of people make the mistake of, if I just provide a credit card and allow them to enter it in, and I get, I've got a PayPal login, man, I'm covered. I'm getting 70%. The problem with that is a lot of people in those countries, when they go to those sites and they don't see what they're expecting to see as payment offerings, they'll leave the site. They'll figure that this person doesn't understand it, or they don't understand the way that I work. A big example of this is if you're in Portugal or Spain, people there like to use multi-banco. And this is a process, people in the US aren't familiar with this, but in those countries, man, they have a great distrust of putting their credit card information online. So with a multi-banco system, what occurs is when you go to check out, you put in your bank reference number, you send that to the Magento server. The Magento will then send you back a transactional number. The people in those countries go down to the ATM and they key in that transactional number, and then that then goes back to the bank and tells them the payment is fulfilled. And then that sends it back to Magento and says they can ship the goods. Not well understood by Americans, but in those countries, that's critical, and that can be 25% of all payment processing is done by multi-banco. So if you don't offer that, you're going to at least lose that amount of order processing and probably more because people think you're not hip to the way they work. So understanding Visa and their international offerings, the other thing is Visa and their partnership with the banks and their merchants. It's going to be, I would definitely keep your eyes in the press to see what are they going to do over the next few years to take advantage of this. Because payment processing is moving from just accepting the payment to making the payment transparent. That is the goal. How easy, how simple can you make the payment processing? Every step that you make the person go through is one more step that they're going to leave. So their integration with the banks and the merchants to make it super smooth for people is going to be interesting to watch. All right, let's go from Visa to another 800-pound gorilla in the room that everybody's wondering what's going to happen next, which is Apple. iTunes just released recently, Tim Cook in his earnings call said that the iTunes division for Apple rose by 11% last quarter and pulled in $4 billion in revenue. It is the second fastest growing division inside of Apple, and it is also one of their most profitable. And they recognize that this is one of their least utilized assets inside of the company. And the other thing that's really interesting, everybody knows Apple's history of, man, they like to control the entire chain of whatever it is that they're doing. So how are they going to go to market and roll these things out is really what's going to be the big question mark in everybody's mind. You know, the rumor is that iPhone 6 is going to have an NFC chip built into it, which would be great. But currently, like the biometric devices on these, like on the iPhone 5, this biometric device is locked down to developers. We can't access it or use it. So if you want to use the iTouch features of the biometrics, it's not part of something we can use. So the reason why everybody is nervous about what Apple is going to do and what their next play is going to be is in Wired magazine just a few weeks ago, they had an article that talked about the number of accounts with credit cards. Apple has a staggering 800 million accounts with credit cards. And he who holds the account holds a lot of power. Because that means, I mean, just think of it, if you're in your room, for you to give your credit card to somebody and to keep it stored on file, you have to really trust that person. You're saying, I trust you with my financial information. Whoops, sorry, hit my mic. I trust you with my financial information to hold it for me and that you're going to keep it safe. People don't give these up very easily. If you look at PayPal, they're at 123. I was in a meeting yesterday that said that's 145. Okay, you know, 10 million amongst friends. What's that? The other thing that's very interesting is Amazon is at 237 million accounts. Now, I know that PayPal and Magento, you know, you hear a lot of Amazon bashing. However, the reality is that's a huge number, and the clients that I know that get the integration working with the Amazon checkout have absolutely said it's been worth the effort. It is a complete pain in the butt. I don't mind making this statement. Getting Magento and Amazon to talk together is not a whole lot of fun. However, if you can make it accomplish and get it, people do say it was worth the effort. So something to be aware of. So, and the other thing that's really interesting is that Apple has a lot of the same features and functionalities that in PayPal. They just haven't launched them or pushed them out yet. So I think that's what's most fascinating about this market, because the one number that you don't see on here that I wonder is that the Google Wallet. Where is it? I could not find any information on how many Google Wallet accounts exist out there. I'm assuming it's less than 100. I don't know. I couldn't find the number. So this is very interesting. I think when Google hit the play, I think everybody in the industry was very nervous, says, you know, what's going to happen with them? But it shows you how hard it is with Google, with all of its money, with all of its innovation, with all of its, I mean, they crushed New York City and hit that city hard to try to get this off the ground. And they basically failed for a lot of different reasons. So I think it's important to stay abreast of what changes are occurring, keep an eye out for Apple and what they're going to do with their iTouch and iPayment and iBank and who knows whatever else they're going to come up with. But when they make a push, I think it's going to be pretty big. Whoop. I was going to say, ideas that are making an impact. So let's talk about some of the things that are more relevant. Let's kind of take it down a little bit more into some more practical ideas. And since we were just talking about the accounts, this is an area that I see a lot of pushback from merchants, and they don't want to get involved in this process. And what I'm talking about here is using the PayPal login when people come to your site. People trust PayPal. They already have an account set up. Again, trying to reduce the friction on your site. They don't have to go and re-register at your site. And this is what I get from clients all the time. It's my customer. I love my customer. I want to take care of my customer. I get that. But the reality is they trust PayPal. They already have an account there. And by you putting up a registration page and making them go through that process is just one more hurdle that they have to go through. So this is something that I get a lot of pushback, and people don't want to do it. But I think giving people these options to log in, because once they log in, the other thing as a merchant, you don't lose anything. You'll still get all the information that you need. You still know who your customer is. You know what they ordered. You know when they ordered and how much and all those things. This is just helping to reduce the friction on the site. Then we got all kind of great companies like MageJam. So this is a great company that takes Magento websites, you run them through their process, and they'll actually give you an Apple or an Android app in a few seconds, a few minutes. It just kind of runs through, and it makes it very easy to make native applications using your existing Magento site. And what I like about this company is they've taken a lot of different technologies and integrated in the process to give you a rich experience right out of the box. One of the things they have is, this whole notion of swiping credit cards and keying all this in is nonsense, and it is going to stop. I think as you see more things like Target getting hacked and people getting tired of the process of always keying in their numbers, MageJam has right in with their suite of offerings, NetSwipe, which allows you to, if you ever used Uber, you take your phone, you take a picture of your credit card, it reads the number, put in the CVV code, and then you can store that credit card on file for your customer. A great application, and I just want to push, I think a lot of people discount these smaller companies when you absolutely should be looking at them. They can be very cost effective, and oftentimes they're cutting edge and providing services that bigger companies aren't. So definitely take a look at them. And then going back to, I want to bring up two companies that are doing this right. I think these are both great companies to take a look at. And if you're saying, well, how do I, when you talk about making transactions transparent, what does that mean? Nobody does this better than Uber. If you use the Uber app, once you sign up, you take a picture of your credit card, you put it on file. Every time I have to roll into a cab, I bring it up, go to my destination, I hit payment, I don't have to rekey the information in. The payment is basically transparent. I don't have to see it, I don't have to worry about it. Just make it super, super simple for people. The better you can make the transaction transparent, the better off you're going to be as a merchant. And then the other one is Starbucks. They have seen phenomenal success on the closed loop store value cards that they're using, and also their QR readers that they use. So if you just look at what Starbucks is doing and the way they market to their customers, you'll get great value for what they're doing. Okay. Let's move into some of the real-world case studies that we have. And then when I talk about the case studies, there are three things that I see time and time and again with clients, and these might seem obvious, but I wouldn't bring them up if I wouldn't hit head walls all the time with my clients on this. Customer first, taking the time to truly understand how your customer works, what needs do they have, what is applicable today, and applying those. Launch and learn. So many people put super long project plans out there and are never able to actually launch the services that they can learn from. And by taking too long, you don't get out to the marketplace and you don't actually get the metrics to see whether or not these things are working for you. So I strongly urge you to try to push down your development cycles and get out to market faster. And the last piece is think globally and act locally. A lot of people, I get that all of my clients are pushing international and want to get in international markets, but you do need to take the time to understand what is going on in those local markets. Again, going back and working with your payment processors, understand what those needs are. They'll tell you. I mean, they want you to succeed in these new markets. So asking them for help is a great way. All right, so customer first. Talk about Zoetis. Zoetis is a division of Pfizer. Sorry, let me get some water. They're a division of Pfizer, and they serve veterinarians and the animal healthcare professions. As you can imagine, they have a very large sales force that has to go out and meet with a wide range of clients. You know, you're talking about veterinarians that are dealing with house pets to animal healthcare providers that have large farms, and the sales force can be interacting with a wide range of people. And oftentimes, they're often in farms where they have no internet connection. However, they need to work with their clients, show them the current product catalogs, and take orders. So what Zoetis did was they built an Apple iPad application that their sales force can, in the morning before they go on their sales calls, they hook it up to the main Zoetis Magento server. It'll download all the current information on the product catalog, the current sales activity that's occurring with the customers, put it all onto the iPad. The sales reps can then work and make sure that because of the wide offering of products, these are complex sales. The sales reps can work and get the messaging fine-tuned for their customers for that particular day. They can then go out with their customers, show them what products they need to be aware of, what safety information is out there that's critical that they know. They can go through all their past orders and show what they've been doing, and then they can take offline orders right there. And they also, the thing that they allow to, and as much as it works with the sales reps to get the information, they also provided customers when they do get online and they're not with the sales rep, they can go and purchase right directly from the distributors. And of course, this caused there was a lot of turmoil inside of Zoetis and how to approach this, but they realized they realized that by doing this, in the first year, targets were met in 6 months. I mean, they were just blown away by how effective this was. And in the field, the average orders were up by over 500%. And this was basically driven by, because they could now fine-tune what the selling process was, go to their customers, be able to take payments with them directly out there in the field with them, process the orders. In addition, because the sales reps could see what products customers were buying online, they would then use that information, say, oh, hey, I saw that you purchased these things online, so since you're doing that, well then, hey, these are related products or cross-sell products that we should work together that can help you out in your business. Then, launch and learn. The next client that I want to talk about is Zag. You know, they're a great company, come up with highly innovative products, always pushing. They have a product called Glass, which protects your phone, and it's like what it says. It's like a piece of glass, not a plastic film. They also make these really cool keyboards for your iPad that light up and do great stuff. What I like about Zag is they are very good at push, and launching and learning. So they follow, if you look at their site, they follow e-commerce best practices. You know, if you look at their checkout process, you can see they follow the steps real clear. They make it very easy for people to understand. They're in always a constant state of rapid development and deployment. And then once they deploy, they make sure that they measure the results and they learn from their pushes, good and bad. That is the key. I think people try to come up with the perfect plan and we're going to knock this out of the park, when the reality is you need to find out what's good enough. I'm not saying to go out there and blow your toes off. However, I see more issues with people dragging their feet, not getting to market fast enough when they really could be pushing these things out and learning from them. And I'm going to show you one area that I see clients make all the time, and I get a big pushback on it, and I'm never quite sure why. And this is just the location of the PayPal button. By putting the PayPal button on the cart page, if you put it here, go to here, you're at 10 seconds, now you go to the PayPal site, put in your email and password, confirm your order on the PayPal site, come back to the Zag site, complete your order, 20 seconds, you're done, you're in and out, nobody gets hurt. On a lot of clients, I ask them, like, hey man, I'm like, where's PayPal button? They're like, oh yeah, I'm not putting it there. I'm like, why not? You can reduce your time. They're like, no, it's okay. I got it right here. I got it buried, right there. So you make people go to the billing address, check the shipping information, select the PayPal, read this other information, go there. Now they go to PayPal, now they put in their information, look at the order, confirm it, coming back. You're looking at 70 seconds versus 20 seconds for people to confirm their order, just by the placement of the PayPal button. And I'm oftentimes befuddled why they push back so hard. You know, they're saying, like, hey, I already got it in the checkout page. I'm like, but if you just move it over a little bit. And again, I thank my buddy Chuck for this information. When you, by just moving it to the right location, on average, people see an 18% increase in their sales orders, just by moving it from the one place. So little changes like this can have a huge impact on your site, so it's important that you take the time to understand what's going on and how they can help you out. All right, for my last case study, we're going to talk about think global and act local. Now, before I get into the actual client, I do want to mention payment methods by country, where you're sitting on the globe, matters immensely. And you do need to take the time to understand how people process in these different countries and what they're doing. So, for instance, in the US, you see that credit cards are 60%, PayPal's 41%. And then our good old friends, Amazon, which everybody likes to vilify, they're still 17%. I mean, they are a huge part of the American landscape. You need to recognize that. Same thing in the UK. You've got PayPal at 52%. Notice how much debit cards are used, which is interesting. In Germany, people aren't allowed to have a credit card balance for more than 30 days. So short-term credit doesn't exist in Germany. And Germans are very, very paranoid people, is what I'm told in these articles. No offense to Germans if you aren't paranoid, but that's what people tell me. And they say, and that's why they love PayPal. They have a huge trust in the PayPal system, and that's why it's used in Germany. I did also want to point out Brazil. Brazil is one of the fastest growing markets, and you're seeing a huge push down in Latin America and in South America. But in Brazil, if your payment transactions do not go through a local payment processor in Brazil, it's going to be denied. And this is, again, where it's important that you work with your payment processors to make sure that this is set up correctly. So if you just say, hey, I'm going to push into Brazil, and you don't set this up correctly, and it pings over to a US server to finalize payment, when it comes back, that transaction will get denied. So take the time to understand what's going on in these markets. Okay, let's talk about Wharton. Wharton is a group of department store chains in Portugal. And what I like about them is they are great at coming up with local solutions. And I don't know if you guys know much about Portugal, but man, they've been in a huge recession for quite a bit of time. It is a tough market to make it. And Wharton has succeeded in this tough market because of their tenacity and being smart and understanding what their customers want. They're great at understanding that people want multiple payments. You know, they have, because of their they do a lot of marketing both in their department stores as well as online. So they have a wide breadth of coupons and promotional offerings that people then want to use when they come to the site. They also want to use gift cards, and then they want to make up the balance using PayPal or credit cards, or multi-banco payments are very, very important to them. And going back to, they understand the local payment processing. And then, and when I say local payment processing, I'm really referring to use of multi-banco and those types of process that people are used to using. And then the other thing that I did want to mention was getting in-store pickup to work. This is something that I see a lot of clients struggle with, and they talk about. Everybody loves to say, kind of moving into omni-channel here a little bit, but omni-channel, omni-channel, omni-channel. I'm like, that's great. So what are you doing for omni-channel? I'm like, that's tough. Yeah, we talk about it, but getting it off the ground just doesn't work. Well, I want to bring this up because I think Wharton is a great example of find a solution. You don't have to find the perfect solution, but find a solution that's going to work with you so you can start measuring it and learning from that. And I think this is an in-store pickup. So I think what a lot of people struggle with on in-store pickup is like, hey, I don't know how to do the inventory inside of the stores. I don't know how to train my team. So what they said was, hey, when people order online, well, then just ship it directly to the store. And they figured out a process that would work inside of their company to give people their in-store pickup. And I want to show you, and they did a great job on marketing it. They make sure that on their product detail page that they clearly denote that, hey, this product can be picked up in the store. When you go to the checkout process, you just select which store you want it to be in, and they'll ship it there, and then you can go pick it up. And when they did, by following these processes, they've seen a 25% increase in online ordering volume since offering in-store pickup, and they've seen double-digit growth in their online sales year after year. So they're, I think, a great example of a company that finds solution to their issues and make them work for them. They're currently now branching out into Poland. Even though they're based out of Portugal, they've realized from what they learned is they take their time to understand their markets. They understand the Poland market because they were able to pick up a chain of department stores there on the cheap, and it's been very, very successful for them. Okay, so those are my real-world case studies. So then let's go into the 3 points that I want to close this out with is, if you take away nothing else, I think the things that merchants that you could be doing that could help you out is leverage the accounts. You know, I was talking about being able to log in with PayPal and use those types of features and functions. I think that's something that would definitely help merchants out a lot and would help reduce the friction, make your payments transparent. The other thing that I've mentioned multiple times is asking for help, reaching out to your payment processors and ask them what features they have and how they could help you out. I rarely see people doing that, and I think they're doing themselves a disservice. So ask for help, and they'll tell you. And then transparent payments. Take a look at your payment processing. What are you doing, and what steps could be taken to reduce that friction? Every little step, every time somebody has to fill in a field, every time somebody has to make one more little step, one more little screen, all of that is ticking away from you. I mean, I look at it as kind of putting chairs in front of the POS. I mean, you want that line to the POS as straight as possible, but yet I always see people putting hurdles in the way of their payment processing. So I think if you shift your mind on how can I reduce the friction on my payment processing, the better off you're going to be.